Okay, we are back. Salute Knicks streets. The streets are buzzing. The Knicks full schedule is out. Let's break it down with the chat. The second best schedule according to some metrics, right? Back-to-backs, national TV games, NBA Cup games. Let's get through our predictions as the Knicks, I think, get a great schedule to start the season especially. And let's get into it straight away. Salute to the chat. Salute Replay Squad. Great to have you with us. Smash that like button. You've got the Knicks streets buzzing. What's up, Paula and everyone coming through? 34 national TV games for our New York Knicks. And a good start, I think, to the season ahead. We'll go through the new coverage with Amazon Prime, the schedule with NBC. And great to have you with us, Susan. Yep, I'm excited to break this all down and what are the games that are going to set the Knicks up to get to the playoffs and hopefully the finals. And we got to break that drought. This is the year, ladies and gentlemen. As you see in the graphic, the Boston Celtics dropped to 7th in national TV games. You've got OKC, the Lakers, Warriors, and the Knicks all with 34 national TV games. And then the Timberwolves, the Rockets coming in with 28 national TV games. So that's what I look for early. Obviously, some of y'all may not have, MSG. I get it. National TV games, though, 34. And there is still 2 games to be announced that are saved for the NBA Cup schedule, like we know. But 14 back-to-backs as well. Not too bad. 1 4-game West Coast trip and 1 5-game road trip that finishes in Indiana. 4 games out west, the 5th game out in Indiana, but 1 4-game West Coast trip. So that's not too bad. And the Knicks have the second best schedule in the entire league, according to some metrics we'll bring up in terms of ease of schedule. Right, so I think that's big time as well. I'm going to bring that up right now before we dive into the games. Salute to the chat. Smash that like button. You've got the Knicks streets buzzing. As I bring this up right here. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Now y'all can see. So we have the Denver Nuggets with the the best strength of schedule. The Knicks with the second best strength of schedule. And what this factors in is the rest plus, rest minus. That basically means are you coming off a day rest? Is your opponent coming off a day rest at the same time? Vice versa. And then it's also counting in Vegas estimate, which is Vegas informed estimate of team strength, VETS, VETS, Vegas estimate of team strength. Right, so those two combined, man, we've got the Nuggets and the New York Knicks with the top 2 strength of schedule. And then you've got ATL, you've got Cleveland, you've got the Bucks, Miami, a lot of teams out east. As we know, because obviously the East is a lot weaker, no doubt about it. Susan says, I think the Knicks are sleeping on, people are sleeping on the Bucks. It's going to be interesting, some teams have a chance to surprise, definitely. I think the Bucks have just signed Amir Coffey as well, to add to that. Susan also says, do you think the Knicks will have a chance to win that Cup tournament, or at least go to that 3rd round? Absolutely. I think against Miami, Charlotte, Milwaukee, I think, and Chicago, I think the Knicks have a huge chance, Susan. But I'm definitely focused on the main prize, the NBA championship, when it comes to that. But let's dive straight into the rest of the schedule. But before we do that, right, we had a leak basically that suggests who's going to be on the main roster. Now, this was a marketing campaign put out by the New York Knicks official accounts, right? A graphic on a street food cart that basically had 15 images, 14 players with Coach Brown. But included in the 14 players is Diawara and Kevin McCullough. So, as I tweeted out here, I think it's very interesting, but I wouldn't assume that that's the final 14 guys, because obviously the Knicks are still looking to add a veteran, and they will add another veteran, in my opinion. But it does suggest that obviously Diawara is more than likely to get a real roster spot, the 14th spot. And Kevin McCullough has a qualifying offer, so he's going to return regardless, whether it be a two-way, camp invite, and most likely the two-way. But I do think Diawara and McCullough will obviously be back. No doubt about it, guys. How do you feel about this? Prezi the boss, what's buzzing? I'm buzzing. You're buzzing. And I'm looking forward to the season ahead. And with that said, let's get straight into the first month, guys, and the schedule. But yeah, as I was going to bring this up earlier, 34 national TV games, guys. So opening night against Cleveland, ESPN. 2 days later, Boston on October 24 against Boston. That's going to be on Amazon Prime. Basically, 4 out of the first 7 games, man, are on national TV. You see all the national games here. We'll go through each game tonight, and we'll look at the Vegas prediction. DraftKings is looking at the New York Knicks as 52 wins, right? So I'm going to take the over on that with DraftKings. 52 wins, 34 national TV games, man. With the Knicks, the second softest schedule of the NBA, right? Look at that stretch after the first NBA Cup game. So the Cup games are in blue. You got Chicago as the first NBA Cup game, right? So we take that off, bring back the large screen. The first month's great. I'm looking at it, no back-to-backs, right? Yes, Cleveland, Boston, arguably 2 of the tougher teams out east to start. But look, after that, you got the Heat, the Bucks, 2 days rest, and then you've got Chicago, man. I mean, that's a pretty good start, right? Not only is there no back-to-backs in the first 5 games, but you've got a day between, you've got 2 days between the Bucks and the Bulls before the first Cup game, man, on the 31st. So as we tick over to November, guys, how do you feel about that? Good start, hey? Rasul, salute. Yeah, we need 14 guys to start the season. I think a lot will be finalized after camp. You know, camp's going to settle a lot of the score in terms of the two-ways, guys hungry, fighting for the spots. You got James Nagy trying to get a two-way. You got Beauchamp still fighting. I think he'll come to camp as well if he doesn't get snapped up by someone. So, yeah, the Cup starts on October 31st, Susan, and that is going to be a home game against the Chicago Bulls. But that is the first of a back-to-back, I believe. No, a home and home, but not a back-to-back. It's a Chicago. Actually, it's at Chicago. And then we host Chicago on November 2nd, just 2 days later. And then you got Washington, Brooklyn, Memphis, Orlando, right? So we tick over and bring up November, December right now. So that's our first back-to-back, Chicago, Washington, fam. So the blue is home. Blue are the home games, fam. Look at that. Chicago, Washington, Minnesota. 3 days rest. Brooklyn, a day rest. Memphis, Orlando. So a couple back-to-backs, but That's a pretty soft 2 week schedule, fam. If you got Chicago, the Wiz, Soda, then you got Brooklyn, the Grizz, Magic, and the Miami Heat on Amazon Prime. So, hey, the softer schedule starts, I feel like, carries into November before we hit the road. So the orange is away, blue is the home. Then you got the Heat away with Dallas, Orlando, Brooklyn. Not too bad. The Heat, I think, should be food this season. Dallas will be tricky out on the road as well, but 2 days rest. Then we fly over to the Magic, and then back home to Brooklyn, or back in New York at Brooklyn, and then you've got a couple of other cup games, fam, against Charlotte, Milwaukee, and the Raptors. So October, November, man, that's the softest start we could possibly hope for, in my opinion. It's incredible. Salute to Yuri. What's good? As I just bring this up once again, right? The Knicks have the second best schedule to start the season, right? In terms of the rest plus, we have nine games with a rest plus, 10 games rest minus. So basically, a rest plus means that 9 games we'll have where we're the more rested team. There's 10 games where we're the less rested team. But overall, accounting for the Vegas estimate, we have the second best schedule, right? So, really hype for that. Now, let's look at December, fam. We have Boston, Charlotte, and a little back-to-back. That one is a away and then a home to Charlotte. Away to Boston, home to Charlotte, Utah, Orlando, right? And then the NBA Cup quarterfinals will start. So once again, I feel like, okay, the Cup games basically started in October 31st. You got Chicago. Chicago on the 31st. That's going to be a win. Miami on the 14th of November. That should be a win. Then you've got Charlotte on November 26th. That should be a win. And don't forget, they count the margins of the victory. So hopefully a couple of huge victories will set the Knicks up to top the group. And then we conclude. I think that will probably settle who finishes top of the group. This final cup pool game against the Bucks on November 28th. And that is a home game as well, right? So the Milwaukee's in blue. That's a good setup for the New York Knicks to top that group. And I think we'll definitely be in the NBA Cup quarterfinals, which is still played on your home floor. But the NBA Cup semifinals is when everybody heads out Vegas, starting December 13. Will be the weekend out in Vegas. So yeah, I do think we beat Milwaukee at home as well. So I think that's a 4-game sweep of the NBA Cup pool games. And that's why I think the Knicks should be favorites to get out to Vegas starting December 13. Prezi says, so it should be Diawara with the rookie mid, hopefully Shamgold with the vet mid as well. Yeah, we heard from Ian Begley recently that there's still a support internally for Landry Shamet. So I'm still expecting him to be the most likely guy to get the 14th spot. But yeah, it does look like Diawara, which I'm really happy with. If Diawara gets the rookie exception spot, I think he's going to turn heads. I think Pate, Diawara, and Kevin McCullough will turn heads this season with Dardier as well. all tall, athletic wings that could D up as well. Yeah, the Bucks signed Amira Coffey, Susan. So I think that's a really good pickup for them. Where did I see that? Here we go. Shams reported earlier today, Amira Coffey snapped up on the veterans minimum by the Bucks. So, hey, they bring in obviously Miles Turner. They bring in Cole Anthony, Amira Coffey. They've made some solid moves around Giannis. We'll see how that plays out. Yeah, the Knicks top the league in national TV games. Now let's take a look at, before we just move on, we'll take a look at the weekly guide, because this is going to decide how to watch the national TV games, fam. We know that MSG is obviously going to have the bulk of New York Knicks games. However, if you don't have a MSG subscription on MSG Plus, this is how to watch the national TV games, fam. Sundays will be basically marquee. ABC, NBC, Peacock. Mondays will be Peacock. Tuesdays, NBC, Peacock. And Wednesday, ESPN. Thursdays will be Prime, along with Fridays, Saturdays with ESPN and ABC. So that's how it's going to go. Let us know how you're going to cop all of the games, fam. Obviously, MSG Plus is the way to go if you're in the market with the blackouts. But if you're obviously hoping to cop all the 34 national TV games, then this is how to do it. What's up, Buzzer? Great to see you. Now we move over to the turn of the new year, right? Well, just post Vegas, post the Vegas NBA Cup, we've got a back-to-back. You got Indiana, Philly, right? So 14 back-to-backs this season. Not too bad. Not bad at all. I think a lot of teams have 15, 16. So 14 solid. Miami, Minnesota, Cleveland, ATL, the Pelicans, and the Spurs. So I'm seeing a lot of opportunities to pick up the victory to end the year, fam, and ring in the new year with a bang. Right? We turn over now. We've got January starting a back-to-back, 2nd and 3rd, at home to ATL Philly. Right? ATL is going to be one of our tougher Eastern opponents, I think, this season. But I do think Philadelphia, who, by the way, have the most one of the most back-to-backs, as I saw. Let me double check. Yeah, 16 back-to-backs this season. So the Knicks have two less back-to-backs than Philadelphia. And we all know that Joel Embiid, I mean, he struggles at the best of times. He's going to struggle to make most of these back-to-backs, right? Talk is that he's not even ready right now. He's not even, a full go in training camp practice. Still dealing with some knee issues as well. So is it too early to count Philadelphia out? I don't think so. I think it's going to be a struggle for Philadelphia to keep up. Let me know your thoughts on that. And then we have the rest of January, right? Detroit away, the Clips at home, and then a West Coast trip. Fam, this is the first 4-game West Coast trip. Phoenix, Portland, 2 days rest. Sacramento, Golden State, back-to-back to close out the first West Coast trip. And that doesn't look too daunting to me, fam. Obviously, the Suns and the Blazers, not that formidable right now. I do think the Blazers are, trending up, going in the right direction with what they're doing. But that should be two great opportunities for the Knicks to get a victory. And then 2 days rest. Mike Brown heads back to his former team, the Kings on Jan 14, first of a back-to-back, and then the Golden State Dubs after that. And then we head back east and we face Phoenix again, Dallas, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Sacramento, Raptors back-to-back. Even that's not too bad. I know a little bit of travel there, Sacramento, and then you've got to go back to New York City. Sorry, the other way. You've got to go back home to New York to face Sacramento. Then you've got to fly to the Six, and then back home against Portland Lakers. So that's I think our first game against LA. Start of February, we obviously head to the capital, Washington, and then back home, back to back against the Nuggets, who have had a lot of success against. Right, and then a little road trip, Detroit, Boston, back home for Indiana, back on the road against Philly, which isn't much travel, and then that takes us through to the All-Star break. Right, so before we keep going, keep in mind that, and we'll do our win projection in a second, but keep in mind, according to DraftKings, they have predicted the New York Knicks finish second with 52.5 is the over-under. And I'm definitely taking the over on that. Susan says, boss, if the Knicks win that Cup tourney, spread that cash to the diehard fans. We do know, 500K for each player. Coaches included as well, which is awesome. I think it's definitely going to motivate some of the young fellas. Prezi the boss says the two ways will be McCullough, Najee, and Pate. The odd guys out will be Beauchamp and Watson. But we are stacked. Best team we've had, can we say, ever? Look, it's hard to say in terms of like first five. I think you obviously got to go early 90s. But in terms of depth, I think 1 through 14. I think you could say this is our most stacked, 1 to 14, in my opinion. Johnny, is Clyde going to be squeezed out of the non-MSG broadcasts? We'll see. I do think Clyde's obviously coming back, MSG Networks, but I think he will probably take a lighter load in terms of the road trips. Maybe we'll see more Gus Johnson. Maybe we'll see a little bit more, hopefully, Jay crossover. Hopefully we see Jamal Crawford back. We'll see. What's up, Fabian? Salute. I got us 12 and 13 in Jan, 10 and 3 in Feb. I like that. Saving that for my next prediction. We'll talk about that in a minute. Prezi says, forget jumping out the window. I'm sitting on the fire escape. 60 burger. Let's go. Michael Drake, great to see you. Yeah, I'm feeling better. Still nasal, as y'all can hear. Apologies, but it's basically just a sinus infection. But I'm feeling good. Ready for training camp. What's up, Shez V? No, I don't think Clyde retired, Russell. I think he's still with us. He's still going. Still at MSG. I do think he's probably going to take less games, though. So we'll see. But what else stands out to you from DraftKings, man? Orlando, 3rd. The Hawks, 4th. Look, I know the East is weaker, but if Orlando win 50 games, man, that's basically what we did last season. Right. Don't call me a hater, but I can't see Orlando winning 50 games. Like, that's a hell of an achievement. Let us know your thoughts on that. Right. Am I hating? Or can Orlando realistically win 50 games? That's a hell of a lot. Now, I know the East is weaker, but it ain't like Boston or Indiana going to be pushovers. It ain't like, Milwaukee, Detroit, or the Heat are going to be pushovers for the Magic. So let's do this right now. Let's do the overs unders. So Cleveland 56. Yeah, I'll probably take over. They won 60 games last season. New York Knicks 52.5. I'm taking the overs on that, most definitely. The Magic 50. I'm taking the unders. The Hawks at 47.5. That's real clever by the Vegas projection. 47.5. I might risk it. I might take over. I might take over for the Hawks. I think they could probably get to 48. But I do think under is probably a good bet as well. I do think that's right in the sweet spot. The Detroit Pistons, 45.5. I'm going over. I'm going to go over for the Pistons. The Bucks, 43.5. I'm going to say over as well. I think the Bucks could get to 44 easily if Giannis is healthy. The Celtics, 42.5. I would say over as well. I think they could get to 43, 44. Philadelphia, 41.5, I think is kind of right. I could probably see them falling below. I'll say under 40. I think they'll get maybe 40, 39 if Embiid's not healthy. And then the rest, the Heat, I would say over. I'm going to take the over for the Heat. I think Norm Powell was a good pickup. The Pacers, 38. I'll say over on that as well. The Raptors, 37.5. I would say over as well. The Chicago Bulls, 32. I'm going to say over as well. The Charlotte Hornets, I think 26.5. I'll probably say under on that one. The Wiz, 20.5. I will say over on that. I think the Wizards can win more than 20. And then the Brooklyn Nets, 20.5. I'm going to say under on that. I think Brooklyn win probably 18, 19 games. We'll do the West in a minute. But back to the schedule, guys. Let's see how this finishes out. Right? So we talked about the 4-game West Coast trip. February is obviously the All-Star break. But I like how we come out of the break. We have a couple of games at home against Detroit and the Houston Rockets. And then a little East Coast trip to Chicago, Cleveland, 2 days rest. And then we head to Brew City. And then we start to look at March. We have the Spurs at home. We've got the Raptors away. Actually, let me double check that earlier because I thought we already played the Raptors at home. Sorry, I thought we already played the Raptors away. Yeah, we do. So if I bring up January, looks like we have the Raptors on the 28th of January, right? That projects to be a road game. And then it looks like on March 3rd, we have the Raptors again on the road. So yeah, obviously we play each other 4 times. So yeah, 2 at home, 2 on the road. Eastern Conference. And then yeah, March we have the West Coast trip, which finishes in Indiana. So that's a 5-game West Coast. That's a 5-game road trip with 4 of them on the West Coast. That is a back-to-back against 2 LA teams as well. So that's probably our toughest month. Definitely March. is going to be the toughest month, I think, schedule-wise. And then how do we finish? Golden State, Indiana at home, Memphis, Brooklyn, Washington, Pels, Charlotte. Okay, so a pretty solid close to March. OKC, the Houston Rockets. Obviously, two tough teams on the road. That's a little two-game road trip there, a West Coast trip. And then April, right, couple of days rest. We finish with Chicago, 2 days rest again. ATL, 2 days rest. Boston, the Raptors, and a back-to-back at home, a rest, and then Charlotte at home. So we come home in a blaze of glory in April, ladies and gentlemen. Look how soft that is, man. I can't remember a softer close to an NBA season for the Knicks. If you look at April, man, 2 days rest, Chicago at home, 2 days rest, ATL, 2 days rest, Boston, the Raptors, Charlotte, all at home as well. So 34 national TV games, 14 back-to-backs only, the second best schedule, right? 52 plus wins. Man, I'm looking at the New York Knicks to be 55, 56 wins, right? I'm going to go with 56. That's going to be my prediction. I'm going to go with 56 now, guys. I've settled. I think neck and neck, us, Cleveland, who gets it? Two of those matchups are going to be key to start the season. Christmas Day, that could swing the season series. Will swing the season series against both of those two teams. Yeah, Fabian goes 5-0 April, most def, and 12-5 from March. Susan says good March. We'll be getting ready for the playoffs. Yeah, hopefully fully healthy. Cedric salute. Russell says 53. That's optimistic as well. Fabian says 58. That's a good projection. Susan says the Knicks have a tendency to play teams that are not a factor, sleeping on the teams. Look, I think with practices and Mike Brown, I do think that it's going to be a case of us, not sleeping on teams like we kind of did, the slow starts, third quarter of doom. I think that's going to be a thing of the past, man, because you know what? One of the reasons why these guys know how serious it is we have a target on our back. We have a bona fide target on our back, coming in, second in the power rankings. We've got second best schedule. You got basically us in Cleveland. I mean, it's going to be absolutely lit. I'm so hyped for the start of the season, and I think it starts off with a really nice kind of, not going to say cushy start, but with respect to the opponents, I think that's a solid way to start the season. You got two big national TV games. You got Cleveland, Boston, no back-to-backs. You got the Heat, the Bucks, and you've got Chicago, right? I think worst case scenario, the Knicks would be 3-2, 4-1. Worst case out of the first five. Fabian says 5-0. How do y'all feel about that? I think depending on the Cleveland game, it's going to be 4-1 or 5-0. Fam, right? Boston's going to be out for revenge, right? In that second game of the season, right, on Amazon Prime. But it's at home, fam. The Garden is going to be juiced up. It's going to be electric, and obviously we don't hit the road until the third game. So the first two games of the season are at home at MSG, where we like to be. And then at Miami, at Milwaukee, at Chicago for the start of the NBA Cup. And then it just gets easier from there on, man. Basically start of November. And we look at this nice streak of home games, fam. We all like a good homestand. And you look at that, you got Chicago, Washington, Minnesota at home, 3 days rest. Brooklyn, a day's rest, and then Memphis and the Magic all at MSG once again. So nice little homestand there, as well against Miami for the second NBA Cup game. So that is a hell of a stretch, fam, of no road game. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a 7-game homestand. That is legit. Another nice little, added layer is that the Knicks won't play any of the late West Coast games, fam. None of these 10:30 tips. So we have a 9:30. We don't have any of the late 10:30 tip-offs, right? We have a couple of 10 p.m. against in January against Sacramento, Golden State. That's as late as it gets in terms of the tip-off time. And then later in March, we have a 10 p.m. tip against the Clippers, 9 p.m. in Utah. So that's for our guys that have to get to bed early, and for those that can't stay up too late, that's good. We know 10:30 tip-offs all season. Just a couple of 10 p.m. and the rest, obviously, are 9 or 9:30 on the West Coast. So that is real good, guys. So how you feeling now? Has this got you even more excited for the start of the season? It has for me. Like, I can finally really settle on my projection, which is 56 wins. I was confident we could win 56, but I just needed to see the schedule in order to, to finalize that. Now we have Mitchell Robinson post his workout vid. Now, we obviously know Mitch is putting in that work. First off season that he's been healthy for a minute, right? Does Mitchell Robinson start? I think he does. And I think Mike Brown will give that a good look to start. We saw how disruptive he was against Boston, how dominant he was closer to the paint. Now, if he can work on that touch like he is here, the little soft touch floater, post up, sealing his man, he's looking in great shape as well. Thinned out a little bit. I think that's the key to stay healthy for Mitch, is that playing weight and keeping that under control. Keeping that at a good playing weight, I think, is definitely going to get Mitchy staying on the floor and staying dominant, right? So Felicia Salute says, don't forget CT. We play better on the road than at home. That was Tibbs. That's a great point because we need to improve playing at home. We definitely need to improve, and it's all in the slow starts. Slower starts, third quarters coming out better. Remember we made that little adjustment in the playoffs with the layup line. Shout out Mikal Bridges helping us install that layup line in the third quarter. That did, seem to help us out a bit. And whatever it is, whatever they need to do is just take care of business at home. Susan says to Felicia, the Knicks will own MSG this season. Yeah, let's hope. So we could take a look at this now as well. So this is back-to-backs versus your opponent's back-to-backs. So the Knicks will have 14 back-to-backs, and we play against 13 teams on a back-to-back. So that's slightly against us. But again, looking at the schedule and the strength of schedule, the New York Knicks have the second best strength of schedule in the league. So, right, obviously factoring in, it's about even, 14-13. So who has the best situation? It's does look like team back-to-backs versus opponents. Yeah. So it does look like Dallas, man. Dallas and the Bucks and the Cavs actually made out pretty good. That's a pretty good discrepancy, man. So the Dallas Mavericks, the Bucks, the Cavs have got 14 back-to-backs, but they'll play their opponent 17, 18 times on a back-to-back, with the opponent on a back-to-back. So that's good for them, man. The Raptors as well did fairly solid too. For those that missed it earlier, the Knicks have the second best strength of schedule, which factors in Vegas estimates and also rest advantages. So we see we see less back-to-backs with the Knicks, but we see a lot of rest days, a couple of 2 days, 3 day rest periods as well. So that's going to be great for our legs. But obviously, if we're going in a deeper rotation, that shouldn't matter too much. It really shouldn't. Prezi said, return of the rookie season, Mitchie. You forget how young he still is as well. What is Mitch, like 26, 27? I mean, it's been around a minute. We drafted him as an 18-year-old. So, yeah, a long ways to go for Mitchie. And so, based on, I think, how it's going to shake out, I do think that the 13th spot is going to be between Shamet, Ben Simmons, possibly Brogdon. We haven't really heard much on the Brogdon front. But obviously, we know the Knicks are still in touch with Simmons. I think that's a Mike Brown, guy. I do think that Landry Shamet has internal support within the organization as well, according to Ian Begley. So we'll see how that plays out. But Diawara, I think, has got that 14th spot. The 13th spot will go to that vet. I think McCullough, Dink Pate, and I think James Nagy will probably get the 3 two-ways. Yeah, Paula says that's great with the rest days. So yeah, I'm looking us to start strong. So the Knicks, the NBA set up a rivals week as well, which I don't really think is much of a rival for us. But I guess 2 years ago we did battle in the playoffs. But the Sixers have got a lot of work to do to claw their way back up, fam, and to even get close to the Knicks. So rivals week we have on Jan 24 on ABC. That's an early tip. Big 14, Prezi. Yeah, I think the depth of our squad is going to be our strength. Starting five obviously strong, but the depth we've added, fam, is big time when you look around the league. And you look at, out east, a lot of teams untried, untested. You've got the Magic, who are they're gonna make strides, but it's a situation with the Magic is like, they're gelling together. They've got some new pieces that are got to come together. I think the Hawks will make a leap. I think the Hawks are a good shout for the second or, the third or the fourth seed. They are the fourth favorite with Vegas, but I wouldn't be surprised if they surpass the Magic. I do think the Pistons have obviously lost Malik Beasley, and they've lost some other guys as well. But the Bucks, I'm not going to sleep on the Bucks. I do think that they've made some nice additions today with Amir Coffey. They do have a pretty decent schedule as well, a pretty soft schedule with the Bucks. Fabian says McCullough can't sign another two-way, I think. Yeah, he absolutely can, Fabian. Yeah, McCullough can sign another two-way. He's only been on the two-way for one season. I know a lot of people are speculating he can't sign a rookie spot a regular rookie contract for the second round exception, but he can definitely sign a two-way. The Knicks have given him a qualifying offer, so yeah, he'll come back. We see how many national TV games have gone up over the years. So yeah, NBC Peacock will run 11 p.m. games every Tuesday. They are branding it Coast to Coast Tuesday. So that's interesting as we see the watch guide. But yeah, I can't watch a game unless it's MSG, fam. Right? It's a much better viewing experience, obviously from a Knicks fan perspective. But the broadcast, the quality is unmatched, man. Listening to these national guys, it's a headache, man. I know a lot of y'all probably join in on a watch along, or you'll mute the audio. I don't blame y'all because ESPN. Look, I'll give NBC the benefit of the doubt because they're new. I'm looking forward to seeing what the coverage looks like with Carmelo. You've obviously got some talented additions, and we'll see what Amazon with you've got Dirk. I think you've got Taylor Rooks. You got Blake Griffin. Uh, Fabian Salute. Yep, we do have some people that have their streams going as well. Johnny says, "Preach, MSG is king for the Knicks broadcast." Yeah, has been, always will be with MSG, fam. And I think we will find out who Clyde's successor is going to be at some point, fam. Give us a shout in the chat. Who do you think eventually, when Clyde hangs up the mic, who should be his successor alongside Mike Breen on MSG? Should it be Gus Johnson returning? Should it be Jamal Crawford, fam? Should it be another former Nick that comes on, fam? Prezi says JC. That would definitely be one of my favorites, fam. The Al Peep, the up and coming Iman Shumpert, doing work with ESPN. How would y'all feel if they got Shumpert to do some sideline stuff on MSG, fam? What about John Starks? Man, I find John Starks to be real entertaining. Funny guy. I know he does a little bit with Stephen A on the sidelines last playoffs. There was a lot of banter, a lot of jokes back and forth. But yeah, I think it'd be awesome if MSG could get John Starks to do some stuff. Yeah. Talk about color commentary, man. That guy would be painting that with a lot of color. Right. Probably not able to step in for Clyde's role, but there's some other guys we could look at. Fabian says Latrell. I know, shout out John Wallace. John Wallace done some great work with MSG as well. Nobody's saying Wally. Nobody's saying Hahn. Can we get any votes for Alan Hahn, Wally, BP, our guy Bill Pino? Those guys are great, obviously in the studio. Maybe best kept for the post games. I think that's where they're best at. I think, in my opinion. Paula says Jamal or Gus. Yeah. I think let's get a former Nick. Crawford is the logical successor to Clyde. Intelligent, high basketball IQ, eloquent. Okay, says Johnny. Yep. I know we do get a little bit of discount double check. Stevie Novak, Novocaine, does some stuff with MSG as well. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, get a recent former Nick. I think that'd be cool. But yeah, I do have a soft spot for getting in a guy like a Starks, LJ. Uh, that'd be cool as well. You know, even I think when Mitch is done, I could see Mitch doing some broadcast work. I think Mitch is hella entertaining. No, we hear some Allen Houston. No Allen Houston. Fabian says Mark Jackson. If you want good commentary, you know Mark Jackson was hired to do some step in for MSG, and then that was kind of nixed. That was the kibosh was put on that. Um, you know, I don't really want to speculate, but I did. I think there was a report suggesting that you know Jackson would obviously have to travel with the staff. You know, the broadcast guys have to travel on the plane as well, so there was a little bit of friction with that potentially. Um, yeah, I guess we're just waiting on the roster to get finalized now, and then we can look forward to camp. But we do have our staff locked up with Chris Gent as the associate. Obviously, we've got the defensive coordinator, O'Connor. Gent is going to be the offensive coordinator as well. And then we do have the additions of Ricardo Foy. We've got Charles Allen as well. And we've got the other guys coming in. TJ, what was his name again? TJ Saint. That's it. TJ Saint is an up and comer in terms of a creative offensive mind. So I think we're in a really good spot for our offense. Yeah, I'm loving the start to the season. I think it's good for the NBA, great for the New York Knicks specifically. 5 preseason games, right? I like a couple of those games out traveling. You know, obviously Abu Dhabi, the new team can come together and can bond, can gel. I think you know you obviously gel better on the road, away from home. Those guys will be out there enjoying the sights and sounds of Abu Dhabi, but obviously putting in that hard work, man, in the desert, like you know, like Creed, like Rocky. You know, there's going to be some scene. Think of the training camp footage, fam. We'll be getting out in Abu Dhabi. You know, scaling the sand dunes, putting in that work in the heat. There's going to be some hella training footage come out of that. Hopefully, some good content. Back home though, for Minnesota, Washington, Charlotte, 3 home games to conclude the preseason. That's great for the home fans. You know, they'll get a good close look at our newest Knicks in front of the loyal faithful. And then 2 home games to start the season as well. So we basically don't have to travel for 3 weeks from the start of October to the close to the end of October. We won't have to travel very far. Even when we go to Miami and Milwaukee, with plenty of rest days in between. Susan says Patrick, Carmelo, and Starks. Yeah, well, Carmelo's on Amazon already, or NBC. Let me just clarify which one, because I do need to double check. Yeah, I do think it's what NBC. Yeah, NBC. Carmelo Anthony. Salute. So that's going to be nice. But yeah, maybe he can do some stuff with MSG as well. You know, sign another contract, because I'm sure he's not going to do every single NBC game. I think that would be good. But first and foremost, I do hope Clyde stays with us for many more seasons to come, fam. I don't think he's interested in retiring anytime soon, fam. I think he loves the job. Knicks are so close to winning that championship right now. I think Clyde's gonna hang on, fam, to see us get over that hump. Yeah, Pat's already with us as an ambassador, Fabian, as I think he's a global ambassador. So that's good. He does like to travel. as well. Now, fun fact: Patrick Ewing Jr., the son, is actually an assistant coach in Australia right now, uh, with one of the professional teams in the NBL. Right. So Patrick Ewing Jr. putting in great work with the Brisbane Bullets, basically one of the major franchises in the NBL. He's been an assistant coach for a minute, so he's following along the bloodlines. Is Patrick Ewing Jr. Shout out. So yeah, I do think the start of the season is quite, kind, and then I do think the month of March is probably the most difficult. As we'll sign off with this. I do think this is going to be our biggest challenge, March. Although the end of March isn't too bad with Washington, Pelicans, Charlotte, but you've got OKC, Houston to close. You've got the 5-game West Coast trip, and you've got OKC and Houston to close that month. So that's going to be tricky. You've obviously got the Spurs to start. You've got the Raptors on the road with OKC as a back-to-back. So yeah, look, March is tricky. Not going to lie. I'm just going to go through and see if we can finish at least split. So Spurs at home. Yeah, I think that should be a win. Raptors on the road should be a win. OKC on the actually that's OKC at home, which is good. So out of OKC, Denver, maybe we pick up one of those wins. So that's 3. Lakers, Clips, maybe we split that. That's 4 wins. Utah, Indiana, Golden State, Indiana. Yeah, I think I think we have a chance to finish above 500 of that month of March. Maybe 500, maybe slightly above. But yeah, you would think we're going to be rolling by then. You would think that we are going to be in hopefully a real pretty situation to close the season, because we know April looks real pretty with Chicago, ATL, Boston, Raptors, Charlotte, with plenty of rest days ahead. Yeah, these uniforms, as we talked about last stream, man, I'm definitely going to be front line to pick them up. Once these come out, they are going to sell out of stores. These classic late 90s throwbacks, fam. Let us know if you plan to cop. Right. Which Nick does this remind you of? Is it Pat? Is it LJ? Camby? Latrell? Houston? Definitely, man. 1999 finals. Are we set to repeat? I think that's what the Knicks are thinking or hoping. The marketing campaigns to bring this look back. I think it definitely coincides with the fact that we are looking at, a 25-year anniversary. Basically, we're looking at the 25-year anniversary of that season. Well, we just passed, basically. I think the 25-26 season is basically, of that quarter century of this look. Can't wait. So that is it, guys. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. How you see the start of the season, the end of the season, your win projections. I'm going 56. 56 on the books. And I think that's going to be enough to get us definitely the 2nd seed, potentially the 1st seed. But obviously the 2 games against Cleveland are going to probably settle the tiebreaker and the season series as we start the season with a good spot. And I'm liking it. With preseason, the first 2 games of the season on Amazon, and obviously on national TV, ESPN. 34 national TV games, 14 back-to-backs, with the 2nd best schedule. And a cushy NBA Cup schedule. Right? I think that's as cushy as it gets when it comes to Chicago, Miami, Charlotte, and the Bucks to get through to Vegas quarterfinals and then hopefully semifinals, fam. We might be hanging up multiple banners this season, guys. You got the Cup, you got the Atlantic Division, which I think the Knicks should be favorites to win, with Boston regressing. And then obviously the championship banner is the one that we want, baby. That's the one that we want badly. So, great to have you with us as always. Buzzamina, Susan, Felicia, Johnny, Paula, everyone else on replay, Fabian, Let's Go Knicks, Rasul, Shez V, Prezi the Boss, Johnny, Cedric, and Queen's Place Salute. We'll be live later as we get some updates on the roster next week. Hopefully, enjoy the rest of the weekend. And let's go Knicks. Peace.